what's on your radar?
Democratic politicians, the mainstream media, and progressive members of the Hollywood elite, a coalition I often refer to as Team Blue, have a new public enemy number one, and that's Joe Rogan. Rogan is the reigning king of podcasting. Episodes of his show, which typically last for 3 hours, downloaded millions of times. His audience dwarfs everybody else in the news and commentary business, right, center, or left. And they hate him for it. They especially hate that they can't control him. He doesn't follow a script that's pre-approved for him by a political party, corporation, or interest group. He's a supporter of Bernie Sanders, but he thinks the left has gone crazy on transgender issues. He called Donald Trump dangerous and many of the former president's supporters, quote, effing stupid, but he has repeatedly challenged the Democratic Party's approach to COVID-19. Now this, more than anything else, has made him a target of Team Blue. He is skeptical of COVID mandates, and his featured guests on his show, Robert Malone, Peter McCullough, Alex Berenson, and others, who have questioned the efficacy of the vaccines. Now, I don't agree with what many of these guests have had to say, but Rogan evidently believes his audience can benefit from hearing different, clashing points of view, that listeners have the agency to accept or reject what they hear. Team Blue hates this idea. They absolutely hate it. They don't want people listening and deciding for themselves. What if the people making up their minds choose a direction that's contrary to the CDC, that goes against something Dr. Fauci has decreed? They can't have it. But unfortunately for Team Blue, they have little power over Rogan. They can't get him thrown off TV or ejected from Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. Rogan has a deal with Spotify, and so far Spotify has stood by Rogan, even as liberal music artists have started withdrawing from the platform in protest. So Neil Young kicked this off last week, telling Spotify that he would not share the platform with someone who spouted medical misinformation. The irony is that Neil Young has a long history of spreading bad scientific information. In 2015, he released an entire album, The Monsanto Years, spreading unfounded conspiracy theories about GMOs. Now, it shouldn't matter. You should be able to enjoy Neil Young's music, if you enjoy his music, without co-signing every statement he's ever made. Separating the art and artist is a wonderful thing. Now, there are exceptions, of course. Nobody should be praising the paintings of Adolf Hitler, but except in cases of overwhelming and obvious moral depravity, we can and should generally accept that all people are flawed. We have good qualities and bad qualities. It's okay to appreciate the good while rejecting the bad. Not crazy stuff. But it's not true for Team Blue. See, their continuing quest to remove statues of people like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, to distance J.K. Rowling from the Harry Potter world she created, and now to pressure Spotify to rid itself of Rogan. Singer Joni Mitchell is leaving the platform as well. A rumor that Barry Manilow was quitting Spotify over Rogan is apparently untrue. Manilow said it was false. He has no idea why anyone got that impression. But undoubtedly more will join Young and Mitchell in the coming days and weeks. The question is whether this will matter to Spotify. On Sunday, the company finally responded to all the anti-Rogan chatter. Quote, "You've had a lot of questions over the last few days about our platform policies and the lines we have drawn between what is acceptable and what is not," wrote Spotify leadership. "We have had rules in place for many years, but admittedly we haven't been transparent around the policies that guide our content more broadly. This in turn led to questions around their application to serious issues, including COVID-19. Spotify plans to begin adding content advisory notes to podcast episodes that are about COVID-19, and it will also make clear that it prohibits content that promotes dangerous, false, or dangerous deceptive medical information that may cause offline harm or poses a direct threat to public health, including denial of the existence of COVID-19 or promoting or suggesting that vaccines approved by local health authorities are designed to cause death." So it doesn't seem like that goes as far as the policies of Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms, which have tried to label allegedly false COVID information as misinformation with dubious results. Plenty of perfectly accurate or debatable information has wrongly been smeared as false under these policies, including articles that I have written. I hope Spotify leaves Rogan alone because it's the right thing to do, but I also have to wonder how much it would even help the cause of vaccination to remove him from the platform. Censoring him could give him an even larger audience and more appeal. Vigorously trying, and often failing, to suppress an idea can often backfire, making the idea seem exciting, intoxicating, seductive. Rogan would clearly have a gigantic audience, whether he's with Spotify or on his own. What does it accomplish exactly to drive him elsewhere? While we're on the subject of Team Blue going to war with COVID dissenters, I wanted to highlight one more egregious case from last week. Evangeline Lilly is an actress best known for playing Kate on ABC's Lost, which was my favorite television show of all time. And also she's Hope Van Dyne, the superhero known as the Wasp in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now recently she departed from liberal Hollywood orthodoxy and announced that not only did she support the anti-vax mandate cause, but she actually attended the rally against vaccine mandates in Washington, D.C. a few weekends ago. Again, as a fan, I'm sorry I missed her. On Instagram, she wrote, "I believe nobody should ever be forced to inject their body with anything against their will under threat of violent attack, arrest or detention without trial, loss of employment, homelessness, starvation, loss of education, alienation from loved ones, excommunication from society, under any threat whatsoever. This is not the way. This is not safe. This is not healthy. This is not love. I understand the world is in fear, but I don't believe that answering fear with force will fix our problems. I was pro-choice before COVID, and I am still pro-choice today." I agree with her. I agree with everything she just said. Millions of Americans do as well. But Team Blue doesn't, and so she was thunderously denounced in the media. Some of her Marvel co-stars have criticized her, not by name yet, though for now, no one is threatening to pull out of future films if she appears. Let's hope it stays that way. For all the members of Team Blue out there who think the best way to handle people with whom you disagree is to censor, shun, and exile them, maybe think about whether you have faith in your own ideas to succeed on their own or not.
Well. The stage is set by that little video from The Rising from the Western Journal. So this video is about the Joe Rogan podcast versus the cancel culture Marxists. Who will win? But I have the answer, and I'll give you my prediction at the end of this video. Let's build this case here and see if we can figure this out. Okay, but first a side note. The young man's talking about the Barry Manilow clip where it says somehow someone threw his name in the ring in the hat. Jump on board with the Neil Young boycott of Spotify, if you want to call it that. Withdraw your program, withdraw your catalog from Spotify. So what that tells me, it tells me two things. Number one, possibly that Barry Manilow has an extensive catalog of songs that make a lot of money with an older set of people in the 60s, 70s, 80s type people that were alive in my generation. The boomers that will be retiring soon, and the boomers that have retired the last 15 years, and that's Barry Manilow's base. And number two, what it tells me for sure that someone planted this misinformation about Barry Manilow, which he vehemently denies, and he's set the record straight, so good for him. And I'm glad he's not influenced by this Neil Young character. Okay, so my summary is, let's keep it brief. Start with the Joe Rogan saga. He had guests that were qualified to explain it in vermectin, whatever the hell it is, about this vaccine stuff and the COVID-19. And I'm going to play the evidence that no one has said yet what he has spread has been this misinformation. It's been almost 2 weeks, and I'm waiting to hear it. No one has it. I can't find it on the Joe Rogan videos on YouTube. I can't find it on Instagram. I can't find it on Facebook. Facebook just blocks me. I can't find it on Twitter. I can't find it. So no one seems to know what the hell what the misinformation is, including Joni Mitchell, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. So Neil Young has a hissy fit. He started this, okay? He gave Spotify the ultimatum. He says it's either Joe Rogan or me. Well, Spotify took a look at it, and I have it here from a guy from YouTube. AB writes, Joe Rogan, 11.5 million followers on Spotify. Neil Young's downloads average on any given day, 7. Stephen Stills, 4. Joni Mitchell, 2. It's a pretty tough decision by Spotify. So I'll put this up here, and you can read it for yourself. Matter of fact, it was so funny. I figured I'm going to wait a day on this. I'll finish to Brian Flores. He's suing the NFL for racial discrimination. He has no case. Neil Young pulls his catalog off Spotify. Neil Young apparently got some people to follow suit. I believe Joni Mitchell was the second one to follow suit, and I think it was like 2 days later. So far, Joni Mitchell and then Niels Lofgren joined the next day, and was next pulled his catalog. Then Prince Harry and Meghan Markle slammed Joe Rogan. Okay, now get this: Prince Harry has a contract with Spotify for $25 million per year, and this is the second year he's had one podcast in that 1 year. So for 2021, the year 2021, for the year 2020, he's gotten 1.2 million per minute. I mean, I'm in the wrong business. I'm not making anything off his YouTube videos. I mean, why am I wasting my time? I need to pull Prince Harry. I mean, this is, everybody said he was the dumb one between him and Prince William. I don't even know what the other guy's name is. I'm not even sure. But I have deep admiration for Lady Diana. I don't have not so much for Prince Charles. He cheated on her with a 50-year-old woman. Are you kidding me? Well, anyway, who am I to judge? When I first heard this, when my daughter, who's a big Joe Rogan fan, Joe Rogan voted for Bernie Sanders, and he has some highlights of what he felt Bernie Sanders was bringing to the table. So when I heard that from my daughter, who's a left-wing liberal like Archie Bunker's daughter, Gloria, and Meathead would be my son-in-law. He's just like is perfect. Like, I'm Archie Bunker, and he's Meathead. Except I was really Archie Bunker when I was 17. But anyway, my daughter tried to get me turned on to Joe Rogan, and I wouldn't listen to him because he voted for Bernie Sanders. But guess what? I'm going to have to overlook that. And I'm gonna take a hard look. I'm gonna sign up for Spotify, and I want to support Joe Rogan. I'm gonna get his podcast, even though I don't believe in Bernie Sanders' socialism and free this, free that. Honeymoon in Russia. I got other videos on this channel about Bernie Sanders, so you can look it up for yourself, how I feel about Bernie Sanders. However, maybe Joe Rogan saw the light. Maybe Joe Rogan sees things for what they really are. He's getting a couple years older. He can't be that dumb of a person. The fact that he caused this kind of uproar, he can't be dumb at all. If he was a complete dumbass, they would just ignore him and he'd fade away. He's not fading away. He's the #1 podcaster in the world. The world. Okay? He's beating everybody, right and left and middle, no matter what you are. Okay? Combined. $100 million a year contract. So when I first heard this, I thought Joe Rogan was toast. So you can see that the cancel culture was, going to hit that bullseye that they put on them, like they put on everybody. Cancel culture and Team Blue or the left, they go after everybody. No one gets spared their wrath, okay? And people keep voting for them. That's the amazing thing about that. Now, until when they come after them was too late. But Spotify, it's a media company, and they did what most companies in corporate America do. Okay, what they did, I'm just interjecting my experience here. They made a business decision. You hear a company say, well, we're going to get fined by the EPA, or do we pay the sexual harassment lawsuit, or do we pay the whistleblower lawsuit? They're going to see which one costs the least, and that's the one they're going to do, and they'll get the other two dismissed. Okay? They're making a business decision, so they're going to, if the EPA fine is the least of those three, they'll pay the EPA fine, and they'll hire the lady back who blew the whistle on them, and give her a back pay, whatever. They'll make it right. It's a business decision. So Spotify thought, well, we're paying this guy $100 million, but we're making $10 million a year because he has 11.7 million followers. That's an estimation. That's actually a lower estimation. I saw one the other night where he's got 15 million. He's growing. He's actually picking up some followers. So the first 8 days, no one knew or said what this COVID misinformation on the Joe Rogan podcast. No one has said what this quote COVID misinformation was on that Joe Rogan podcast. What people have told me, what I've seen on YouTube and others and Instagram, was that Joe Rogan never said a word about COVID-19. His guests talked about it. Joe Rogan is asking the questions. Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, Niels Lofgren, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young want to silence this guy, this Joe Rogan guy, because he's asking questions. Forgets the free speech here. He's asking the questions, and they don't want him asking the questions. There must be a reason why they don't want him asking the questions. I got my Dr. Fauci video taken out, and I got a strike. It's still on my channel. So, and this is going to remain here for a while, whatever. So whatever. YouTube may get rid of me. I've been waiting for that for a couple years anyway. I'm a Trump supporter. That didn't help any. No one talks about what the misinformation was from his guests that they were answering his questions. I'm going to do a follow-up video on this because this case is not over. I thought that to be very strange that Neil Young and Joni Mitchell hadn't said anything about that either. Typical Marxist censorship. Quote, do as I say, not what you think is what's best for yourselves. End of quote. Does it sound familiar? Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Barack Obama. I have no idea what the Neil Young vax status is. I don't really care. The next part of my segment is I found some information that every time I play it, I laugh because the guy is telling the truth. He's giving some information. He's giving his opinion, and I think it's hilarious as hell. And these are quips, and I've got some screenshots. I'll be reading some things from the Jimmy Dore show. The Jimmy Dore show exposed Neil Young for what he truly is, another hippie hypocrite. So let me get that up here, and we'll get to talking about it.
So Neil Young he wanted his music taken down if they were going to leave Joe Rogan up. So Neil Young is a reactionary moron because Joe Rogan is telling the truth about things that the government is lying about. And how do I know Neil Young is a reactionary moron? Well, because Neil Young blamed homosexuals for AIDS. In an interview with Melody Maker in 1985, Neil Young backed Reagan's gun control policies. Instead of AIDS, you go to a supermarket and you see that word. I can't even say it on YouTube or they'll demonetize this.
Right.
So I won't say that word, but I can show it to you. You go to a supermarket and you see an F, that a derogatory name for a gay person that starts with F and ends with T. You go to a supermarket and you see a F what ends with T behind the effing cash register, you don't want him to handle your potatoes. So that's how he reacts to things. He demonizes people and scapegoats and blames them because Neil Young is a small brain. And so, what's his latest reactionary thing for the establishment? Spotify takes down Neil Young's music after his Joe Rogan ultimatum. He gave them an ultimatum because he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'm guessing he's trying to get laid. I bet there's a woman in his life who's crazy pro anti Joe Rogan, and he's trying to get in her pants. And I know Neil Young is 1,000 years old, but that never goes away. Believe me, that never goes away. And who's he dating now? Who's the girl he's with? Let's find out.
Let me look.
Let's find out. But here's the subheadline: Folk rock star had over 6 million monthly listeners on the service, which he blames for spreading fake news, fake info about vaccines. No, that would be the establishment media. That's who does that. But there's a very irony to this that I'm going to reveal. I'm burying the lead a bit. There's a big
Daryl
irony.
Hannah.
Oh, so he's trying to get in Daryl Hannah's pants. So that's what this is. He's trying to get himself some Daryl Hannah. Well, good for him. He's certainly not slumming. He's going with Daryl Hannah. Good for him. The deadly misinformation is coming from the establishment news. They never mention what's the deadly misinformation that Joe Rogan said. He told people about ivermectin. You mean he corrected the lies about ivermectin from the establishment news? And then when a doctor from CNN came on Joe Rogan, he admitted that CNN was lying about ivermectin and they were lying about Joe Rogan and he had to admit it? You mean those kind of lies? What is the lie that Joe Rogan's telling? Nobody ever says what the lie is.
On Wednesday, Neil Young took more jabs at Spotify on his website, calling on others to join him in removing music from Spotify. Quote, I sincerely hope that other artists and record companies will move off the Spotify platform and stop supporting Spotify's deadly misinformation about COVID, he wrote, but added that he really can't expect that to happen. End of quote. Some Spotify employees expressed concern over the podcast content during a town hall meeting in September of 2020, relating to material that they felt was anti-transgender, according to people familiar with the matter. The company stood by a star podcaster, with Chief Executive Daniel Ek saying that the ambition to make Spotify the largest audio platform in the world involves embracing diverse voices and differing opinions as the company chases scale in podcasting.
But here's the rest of the story. Neil Young already sold his music to a friggin' hedge fund thing. Neil Young sells 50% of his song copyrights to Hypnosis. What is Hypnosis? Well, let's find out. Hypnosis Songs has acquired 50% of Neil Young's worldwide copyright and income interest in his entire song catalog, which comprises 1,180 songs, including such hits as blah, 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 blah. While terms of Young's deal with Hypnosis were not disclosed, an industry source tells Variety that the sum is approximately $50 million. So he already got his money. He doesn't need any more money from his plays on Spotify, and now he can stand up and pretend to be taking a stand about something that's real. Although a second source disputed that number, with Young having approval over sync usage. The latter point is likely key for an artist of Young's notoriously strong-willed nature, and means that the lyrics to the 1989 song, This Note's for You, can continue to hold true. Ain't singing for Pepsi, ain't singing for Coke, I don't sing for nobody, makes me look like a joke. A rep for Young did not immediately respond to Variety's request for comment, but now you are singing for, what is that called, Agnosis? Whatever that, but wait, you're going to find out there's more to this story. Agnostic Songs Fund is a British Gorseny-registered music IP investment and song management company founded by Mercuriadis and Nile Rodgers in 2018. Hang on, it's coming. Focused on songs and associated musical intellectual property rights, it was founded on the premise that hit songs are long-term predictable assets unaffected by economic cycles that will increase in value as the worldwide music streaming market grows. In October 21, the Blackstone Group, an alternative investment you know the Blackstone Group. They are Dr. Evil incarnate. The Blackstone Group announced that it would partner with that Mercurius guy to invest $1 billion to acquire song catalogs and music rights. It also announced that Blackstone would take an ownership stake in Hignos's song management, so his songs are owned by Blackstone. You don't think that that's horrible? You think Joe Rogan is more damaging than the Blackstone Group to America and Americans? Neil, do you, Neil? You fucking hypocrite. In 2019, the United Nations report found that Blackstone's massive purchasing of single-family homes after the financial crisis of 2000 and 2008 had devastating consequences. Joe Rogan screw people after the financial collapse? I don't think he did. But Neil's cool with these people. He's not going to ask for his music back from Blackstone, is he? No. Why? Because he got $50 million fucking dollars. The report alleged that Blackstone had abused tenants with exorbitant fees, rent hikes, and aggressive eviction practices, and that Blackstone's real estate practice had a disproportionate impact on communities of color, in part because the company targeted foreclosures resulting from subprime loans. This is who Neil Young is in bed with financially. This is who owns his songs. Now you know the rest of the story, that Neil Young is a run-of-the-mill piece of shit. Hignostic Songs Fund is a British Gorseny-registered music IP investment and song management company founded by Mercuriadis and Nile Rodgers in 2018. Hang on, it's coming. Focused on songs and associated musical intellectual property rights, it was founded on the premise that hit songs are long-term predictable assets unaffected by economic cycles that will increase in value as the worldwide music streaming market grows. In October 21, the Blackstone Group, an alternative investment you know the Blackstone Group. They are Dr. Evil incarnate. The Blackstone Group announced that it would partner with that Mercurius guy to invest $1 billion to acquire song catalogs and music rights. It also announced that Blackstone would take an ownership stake in Hignos's song management, so his songs are owned by Blackstone. You don't think that that's horrible? You think Joe Rogan is more damaging than the Blackstone Group to America and Americans? Neil, do you, Neil? You fucking hypocrite. In 2019, the United Nations report found that Blackstone's massive purchasing of single-family homes after the financial crisis of 2000 and 2008 had devastating consequences. Joe Rogan screw people after the financial collapse? I don't think he did. But Neil's cool with these people. He's not going to ask for his music back from Blackstone, is he? No. Why? Because he got $50 million fucking dollars. The report alleged that Blackstone had abused tenants with exorbitant fees, rent hikes, and aggressive eviction practices, and that Blackstone's real estate practice had a disproportionate impact on communities of color, in part because the company targeted foreclosures resulting from subprime loans. This is who Neil Young is in bed with financially. This is who owns his songs. Now you know the rest of the story, that Neil Young is a run-of-the-mill piece of shit.
So Jimmy Dore goes on to say, his songs are now owned by the Blackstone Group. And then Jimmy Dore poses a great question. Who's the real danger here? Blackstone Group or Joe Rogan? Do you really think that way, Neil Young? What's your answer? Apparently he doesn't have one. Let's continue. Neil Young is getting more backers, and people are starting to leave Joe Rogan in droves. And I kind of saw this happening I got this clip here. It says Spotify, Yahoo Finance. Spotify backlash over Joe Rogan did little to boost his streaming rivals. The next day, what does Spotify do? Okay, to close of February 4th, Spotify, SPOT is the ticker symbol on the New York Stock Exchange, $174.43. However, this is what got my attention here, and I'll make some screenshots of this. Wednesday, February 2nd at 3:45 p.m., you can see Spotify was $191.89. I woke up the next morning, February 3rd, 9:45 a.m., it was $159.46. I'll put the screenshots up here so you can take a look. So what it had a drop gap, or there was a certain, when the bottom falls out of the stock or the market. That's exactly what happened. This was very, very bad. And so all the bearish marks started coming out and everything. But this is a tough thing to have. Spotify had what I call a gap down, and they're not usually good. They already made their decision to stick with Joe Rogan. This is a Hollywood person, Sharon Stone. Remember her of A Basic Instinct, where she, I'll tie that joke in here. Joe Rogan criticized for idiocy by Sharon Stone over Spotify controversy. Quote, he's an asshole, end of quote. And I got this off Yahoo Entertainment. Sharon Stone sounded off on Joe Rogan over the way he's approaching the COVID-19 misinformation controversy surrounding his show. Rogan's exclusive deal with Spotify has been in the crosshairs of various critics in the last week after Neil Young announced that he was pulling his library of music from the platform unless it is addressed the misinformation about the pandemic and the vaccines being promoted by Rogan as well as guests on his show. Joni Mitchell, Niels Lofgren, Graham Nash, and India Ari followed Young soon after, while calls for more artists to do the same amount. Sharon Stone, who has worked as an activist for several years in the field of infectious diseases such as HIV and AIDS, was approached by TMZ in Beverly Hills. In her impromptu interview, she pulled no punches in her criticism of Rogan's apology and his commitment to present a more balanced collection of opinions on his immensely popular show. I'm quoting Sharon Stone's words here, quote, I'm an infectious disease worker who has won the Nobel Peace Summit Award for my work in infectious diseases, she said. Harvard Awards, Einstein Awards, you know these kind of things, she said. And you know, I worked with Dr. Fauci for decades, and I just want to say COVID is not an opinion-based situation, and Mr. Rogan thinking that his opinion or disclaimer for the lives that he personally has affected and caused losses of is not an opinion, end of quote. So now, look at that certain part of this quote. The lives that he personally has affected and caused losses of is not an opinion. He hasn't caused any deaths. He's a podcaster. He uses words. He's a comedian. He brings guests on his show. He asks the questions. The guests answer the questions to the best of their ability. Joe Rogan asks the questions. They answer. He's not killing anybody. I'm sure you can tell by you can hear in my voice that, in my opinion, Sharon Stone in the first place, I never liked her. Even though she's from Montoursville, Pennsylvania, she's not far from where I'm from. I'll let it go at that. You be the judge for yourself. The Star went a step further, calling Rogan's comments idiocy and shaming him for pretending his opinions are the same as researched medical facts. That is not true. She's outright lying here. He's asking the questions, lady. The headline underneath it, Joy Behar rejects Joe Rogan's apology following a podcast criticism. Quote, I don't know that he can be reformed, end of quote. This is how these leftist people are, people. I mean, you need to get a clue. Look what happened to these people on January 6th. The thing got out of hand. I mean, your vice president, Kamala Harris, got up there and said this was worse than the Holocaust, which cost 6 million Jews their lives, okay? You do one little thing, man, they're going to make a mountain out of a molehill. They're going to use the federal sledgehammer to smash your gnat's wing. The fleas are in your gnat's wing. That's what they're going to do. They don't even go after your molecules until it starts moving at minus 400 degrees Celsius. They're going to do what they got to do to destroy you. Okay, that's how these people think. And if you're not scared yet, I can't help you. And no, I'm not taking that down. I'm leaving it up there. I don't care what anybody says. Back to Sharon Stone. Quote, Mr. Rogan is risking people's lives with his idiocy and is professing that his thoughts of COVID are opinions. And they aren't opinions. COVID and infectious diseases are science, and they are a fact-based situations, she declared. So the pretense that these are opinions is dangerous and his behavior is dangerous, and so is to the pretense that these are opinions that he should put a disclaimer that he's an asshole. She noted that she believes many people have been impacted negatively or even died, espousing the same beliefs they've heard on the Joe Rogan Experience that fly in the face of scientific research about vaccines and infectious disease prevention. Bullshit. Bullshit. No wonder Dwight Yoakam tried to run you over with his off-road vehicle, four-wheel vehicle. Quote, people can say whatever they want to say. Really? All I can say is that what I'm saying, it comes from my experience working in overcrowded laboratories with people risking their lives to save other people's lives, Stone concluded. My opinions come from standing in the hospital with children dying of AIDS while I explain to parents how heartbroken I am that they are going to lose their infant or their child or their teenager or their sister or their brother or their mother or their father. I've stood by the bedsides of dying people for the last 25 years. I don't know how many of these people's opinions come with fact-based experience. Well, then what did you just say in the other paragraph? Okay, she's contradicting herself and she's caught herself on her freaking lies. And Sharon Stone's a piece of shit. I really don't like her. I really don't like her now. I couldn't stand her before. I disliked her a lot before. I really can't stand her now. Let me tell you how I really feel. If I was Joe Rogan, I wouldn't apologize, but I'm not Joe Rogan. I'm not making $100 million a year. I guess if YouTube's going to pay me $100 million a year, I'll apologize. I'll do anything, go a long way to keep that contract, but I'm not going to sell my soul. Oh, this is going to be really good, the comments. So I'm going to wrap this up by saying my prediction, this is what you've been waiting for, that the left is going to win out here. The cancel culture is going to get Joe Rogan. No one survives the cancel culture in one way or another. Okay, no one survives. When they put their bullseye on you, they're going to get you some way or another. They got rid of Donald Trump. They're going to get rid of anybody that stands in their way. Why they get rid of that? So people don't understand. I cannot believe the apathy and the lack of thinking, critical thinking of American people. They don't understand why Donald Trump had to go. Because he controlled the money. He vetoed all those spending bills when he was the president. They couldn't get their little projects going and get the funnel money to their relatives for these build better shit projects and stuff. And look at the first bill, and only 9% went for the COVID-19 stuff. 9% of that 1.8 trillion. Where the hell no, it was $3.8 trillion that they passed. First, second day, Joe Biden, this dictator. Oh, we can't do executive orders, and he had 55 executive orders in 2 days. I'm surprised his hand didn't fall off when he was writing with a pen so much. But that's what's happening, and they could vote for him again. Joe Biden he's probably going to win 2024 because these dumbasses don't care about the $5. Well, there's going to be $8 a gallon pretty soon, gasoline. They don't care. They don't care about the inflation, the record inflation in this country. Forget the 1970s when I was growing up and the gas lines. We're going to have gas lines again and going to have record inflation. No one will be able to get food. The shelves were empty during COVID. You ain't seen shit yet. They're trying to turn this country into Cuba because they're going to get all the money. This is what my daughter and my son, they don't understand what socialism is. This Bernie Sanders type stuff, and Joe Rogan might not understand. I'm going to join his podcast to try to help save him. Maybe I'm going to try to get my wife to join. That's 2 people. I'm going to talk to my friends at work. I go to work. I go back on Monday. I'm going to just say something nice about hey, he likes Bernie Sanders. Maybe I'll talk a couple guys into it. Maybe that's his calling card. Maybe that's why he voted for Bernie, or he says he did. Who knows? When you go in that booth, you don't know who you're voting for. Joe Rogan will probably vote for Donald Trump. But that's just my thinking. There's a reporter in Northern Virginia. Used to work for CNN and all the left-wing loonies. And Donald Trump. And she said, "Yeah, I voted for Donald Trump because I don't want to lose my job." And Donald Trump's free publicity. He gets clicks. He makes money for the mainstream media. And the New York Times had laid off 13% of their staff, like in March of last year. No news. They got rid of Donald Trump. He's gone. They want to talk about January 6th a month. People are going to start waking up to it. I got to stop this video.
What a fucking piece of shit.